Thank you for accepting our invitation to talk about marketing with a book and a speech. Now, if you came here looking to see somebody who knows a little bit about doing a Zoom seminar, then you've come to the right place. I know as little as anyone about doing a Zoom seminar. I just started in January, but I have on my right hand Devon DeVries, who is, it's good to have a producer. That's all I can say. Let's get started with a story. So the story I'm going to tell is about Penny Reed. And there we go. So the year is 2015. The place is Memphis, Tennessee. And we're in an 800 square foot apartment just about a mile from the Mississippi Bridge. Penny shares this apartment with her teenage daughter. And Penny's at her kitchen table and she has a stack of unpaid bills. And Penny has no idea how she's going to pay these bills. Now, this 800 square foot apartment is a far cry from the 4,000 square foot home she used to share with her daughter and her former husband, who was also her employer, who also gave her all her work. So no house, no employer, no work. Penny Reed's a special woman. If you haven't met her yet, I hope you get to meet her one day, because Penny believes in dreaming big. She didn't dream about just paying those bills. She says, in 2 years, I'm going to be a professional speaker and best-selling author, and I'm going to make $200,000 a year. That's when I met Penny. And I asked Penny, what do you know how to do better than anyone else? And she says, oh, I got that. I know how to grow a dental business. And let me tell you, dentists are screwed up people. They borrow all this money to go to college. Then they borrow all this money to go to dental school. Then they get out of dental school and they borrow all this money to open a practice. And they think they own a business. A business owns them. They're an indentured servant working off the debt for the rest of their career until they hopefully can retire or sell this to somebody else. She said, dentists lack two things. One, cash flow, and two, time to enjoy life. But I know how to fix that. I said, bingo, Penny, we have a business model. So she says, okay, so what's going to be the sexy, provocative title of my book? And I said, oh, Penny, I have this. Are you ready? She said, yeah. I said, your book's going to be Growing Your Dental Business. It's what you know how to do, and it's what they want. So give them what they want. And she said, oh, okay. So the plan is we write this book, we publish this book, I get some speeches, some dentists hear me and they hire me. And I said, oh no, it's not the plan at all. While we're writing the book, I want you to make a phone call a day, one phone call a day. Penny said, who am I going to call? And I said, you're going to call people who book speakers to talk to dentists and dentists who might hire a consultant. Penny said, oh, I'm going to run out of people to call in a week. I said, no, you aren't. There's 1 million of them out there. They're multiplying like rabbits. You'll find them. She says, well, I'm not a salesperson. I said, good, then I don't have to untrain you. Here's your script. If you'd be interested in a conversation about me speaking to your dentist about my upcoming book, Growing Your Dental Practice, that would be great. She said, well, what if it's a dentist? I said, if you'd be interested in a conversation about talking about consulting on the topic of my new book, Growing Your Dental Business, that would be great. It's an if statement. It's a soft knock at the door. Well, Penny started making the phone calls and we started writing the book. And sure enough, she started getting booked as a speaker, and consultants wanted to talk to her about this upcoming book. Well, the book came out. We published the book. And Penny said, good, I don't have to make those phone calls anymore. I said, oh no, you have to still make those phone calls. And you have to do one more thing. She said, what's that? I said, you need to mail a copy of your book, one a day, 20 a month. It's a $200 business development program. Penny said, who am I going to send them to? He said, you're going to send them to people who book speakers to talk to dentists, and dentists who might hire a consultant. Any book worth writing is worth using it to plant seeds. You plant seeds with people who can get you in front of your target-rich environment, or you send it direct to the target-rich environment. And then you don't put them on the spot. You ask them the soft if questions. Because I had Penny follow up the books with a phone call. Oh, do I ask them, did you get the book? I said, no, don't ask people that. Tell them that you've written the book. And they'll either say, oh, we got the book, or, well, that sounds interesting. And then ask if you can send them a book. And then follow up again and see if they'd be interested in a conversation about booking you as a speaker or a conversation about hiring you as a consultant. Well, it's like the back of the shampoo bottle. Once you get that, it's lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. Send out the postcards, send out the phone calls, send out the emails, send out the LinkedIn messages, send out the books, and talk to people. Plant seeds. I like to say plant 3 seeds a day. So you plant the seeds, and then you're ready to harvest the crop. So I'm going to fast forward. It's 2 years later. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the year. And Penny's at her computer, and she's got her QuickBooks accounting program up, and she presses the print button to print out on her printer her profit and loss statement for the year. Comes out, and she looks at it. Gross profit, $200,000. $100,000 from speaking, $100,000 from consulting. That's really the secret. You've just got the secret sauce of this whole thing in the Penny story. It's a book is your #1 marketing tool. Speaking is your #1 marketing strategy. That's how consultants and coaches attract high-paying clients. Well, I'm going to take you on a guided tour. You should meet me. I'm your tour guide. Hi, my name's Henry DeVries. I run a company called Indie Books International. I work with independent consultants who want to attract high-paying clients by marketing with a book and a speech. As a professional speaker, I speak to business leaders on how to persuade prospects, job candidates, investors by persuading with a story. I also write a column on these subjects, 7 a month, for Forbes.com. Now, in fact, in the last 10 years, I have been a ghostwriter, editor, publisher on more than 300 business books, including my own international bestseller from McGraw-Hill, How to Close a Deal Like Warren Buffett, now in Chinese. As a result of working with me, consultants and coaches and business leaders, they report they get more impact and influence. That's what we're going to talk about today, how you can get more impact and influence. And on a personal note, I am a baseball nut. I have visited 43 Major League Baseball parks. I have one to go before I touch them all. And I'm consoled by the words of Tom Hanks, who said, despite current events, there is still no crying in baseball. So I am not crying that I don't get to go to baseball games, or not much. Okay, there's a chat box. This is a way to be interactive. One thing is we'd love to have you go to the chat box. You can access that on the bottom of your screen and hit chat, and then type in where you live. We'd like to know where you live. Also in the chat box, anytime you feel like it, when you have a question, please go ahead and ask a question. We want this to be interactive. This is the 90th Marketing with a Book and Speech Summit we've done. Now, this is the 4th we've done on Zoom. The others we have flown around the country, actually other countries too, and done these live. We like to get 10 to 20 people in a room. Well, good timing. In January, we said, well, we should start doing these on Zoom too. So we had 3 under our belt when everything went kaplooey. So we had one second one in March that was well attended. We thought, okay, well, let's keep doing these. Let's up the game. So that's what you're in. Devon, where are some people from?
Well, we actually have quite a diverse population. Almost every area of the country. So we have Connecticut, New Jersey, Minneapolis. We have California, so San Francisco, LA, San Diego. Oregon's represented, New York, a couple more from New Jersey and New York area.
Wow. So at Indie Books, we demonstrate everything we want you to do. So we're demonstrating a Zoominar today. So that's an interactive piece, but it was also to show you that Zoom lets you talk to people all over the country who might be helped by the messages that you have. We really think it's generosity marketing. That's what we're coining it. You give away valuable information through your events, through your columns, through your blogs, through your books. And the more valuable information you share, the more generous you are, the luckier you'll get. So that's our message to you today. So keep those questions coming. There's going to be 3 takeaways today. And just to summarize them, one is my philosophy about writing as a team sport. So to get a book done, get help. If you don't get help from us, this is what a mental hospital used to have a commercial in San Diego. If you don't get help from us, get help from somebody. So it's the same thing. If you don't get writing help from us, get writing help from somebody. Don't go it alone. Our other message here is that publishing a book is the starting line. It's not the finish line. A good friend of mine always said, it's just your ticket. It's your ticket to get into the game. So it's not about getting, oh, the book's done, and now you wait for the world to discover you. That's when you really start. And the third thing we like to share is the power of story, and that your story matters, and that human brains are wired for stories, and certain types of stories told a certain way. And you can help people make the decision to hire you by these stories. Well, let's go on. Number 1, writing's a team sport. So there's 3 ways to write a book. You can hire a ghostwriter. A ghostwriter. I got a phone call one day, and this person said, "Is this Henry DeVries?" And I said, "Yes." "Is this Henry DeVries the ghostwriter?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "My story takes place on Halloween night. It's a storm. We're in a mansion. A seance is being held to contact the spirit of the dead owner." And I said, "I have to stop you right there. I am not that kind of ghostwriter." A ghostwriter in a business book is somebody who is behind the scenes, who helps you write. One CEO, I was his ghostwriter, and he said, "Oh, I don't think this is fair. I mean, you're doing all the work, but I get the credit." And I said, "Well, you're a home builder, right? How many homes are you going to build this year?" He said, "Oh, 1,000. I said, "Oh, well, your arms are going to get tired." He said, "Don't be silly. I have hundreds of people who work for me." I said, "Yes, and they all have tools. So I'm your tool as a ghostwriter to get a book done." That's one way. I'll skip to the other extreme. You go lock yourself in a cabin up in the mountains, and you don't come out until your book's done. I call this the misery approach. I named it after the Stephen King novel and movie of that name. It's a miserable way to write. I've done it many times. I just locked myself away for 6 days and produced a 100-page screenplay. It's misery. I don't recommend it. There's a better way. The third way is to hire a developmental editor. For some people, that's a new term. A developmental editor is somebody who co-creates the book with you. They brainstorm the book. They help you create a blueprint for the book. They've been involved in books, so they show you the way. My first book, actually, I found a developmental editor, and that was, I've written 12 books now. That was my first book. I didn't go it alone. I got somebody who knew the ropes, who knew there. We got the book done, and then we had to find an agent, and that was a process. It was great to have a teammate. So it's a teammate to help you get it done. That's why I think writing's a team sport. Some people want to know about publishing books. I'll just briefly cover this. There are 3 ways to get a book published. One is the traditional way. I mentioned my McGraw-Hill book. So McGraw-Hill is one of the big New York publishers. We've also had people work with Wiley, Prentice Hall, Simon and Schuster. So these are the famous names. There are also some ones we've worked with that aren't famous names, but their basic business model is you write a business plan, it's called a book proposal, that convinces them that you're going to sell 10,000 books. And then for doing that, they're going to give you 15% of the proceeds. And they're going to keep 85%. That's the traditional model. You had to do it for years because the economy of scale of printing presses and the distribution and the bookstores, you were sunk without a traditional publisher. Technology has changed all that. Two things. One, print-on-demand publishing and Amazon.com for the internet, if you will. But the lion's share of all books sold are sold by Amazon.com. So what these technological changes meant is that you can indie publish a book, or the S word, self-publish a book. If you self-publish a book, which is you pay for everything and you're like a general contractor building a house, and you pick subcontractors and you manage them. I've done it. I don't recommend it. I had a lot of authors. I helped write books for them. Of those 300 books, many of those was before I formed Indie Books 6 years ago. And everybody was frustrated with the self-publishing process. And then there's a stigma attached to being self-published. The middle ground is indie publishing. It's also known as hybrid publishing. We belong to the Independent Book Publishers of America. It's an association. We have ethics that we need to follow. And there are 70,000 indie publishers out there in America. What we do is we give the same rigor as a traditional publisher. A lot of our people have worked in traditional publishing. However, like an indie record or an indie film, the creator is the money behind it, and they get the lion's share of the profit. So instead of getting 15 and somebody else gets 85, you get 85 and somebody else gets 15 for doing this. It has revolutionized publishing. It's one of the reasons, last time I checked, there are 32 million books on Amazon. The other thing is there's also ebooks, there are audio books, all these digital technologies, and digital delivery of books has just opened up. So there's greater opportunities to be an author than there ever was. I used to say getting a book published, like when I first did it back in the 90s, and you have to find an agent, a publisher, it was like a PhD. I think now it's more like a high school diploma or even a GED, you know, that test you take to get your diploma. It's so easy now. And a book that sells 1,000 copies can be profitable.
We're losing audio for some people.
Henry, you're breaking up about every couple of minutes for about a full 5 or 10 seconds.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I don't know if I should keep repeating myself or what we can do, but we'll keep forging ahead.
Can you at least give the percentages for indie publishing? I heard the independent, the large publisher, but then when you got to the hybrid model, you broke up. I think you gave the percentage.
Thank you for asking. Well, I was talking on percentage of revenues. It's more like you keep 85%. The people who are helping you get 15%. That's simplifying the model. And we found 1,000 books can get you in the black. So if you sell 1,000 books with an indie model, you have paid for the cost of publishing. The real money, and what this is all about in our model, is what happens as a result of the book. The clients that you get as a result of the book, the speaking engagements you get as a result of a book. An expert with a book should speak in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. That's what they should be paid. That's for corporate clients. And then our studies have shown people get 4 to 20x ROI, so 400 to 2,000% ROI for what they put into a book project. So if somebody might put a total of, I don't know, 25,000 into a book project, including their marketing for 2 years, they should be getting $100,000 to $400,000 back in revenue. Well, let me move to publishing a book, the takeaway two, because that's where we say the race begins. It's the starting line. This is the Boston Marathon, by the way, the start of it. For 5 years, I handled public relations for the Boston Marathon start. So this is 26.2 miles away from the finish line, and there would be all this media there. It was interesting to note that in the Boston Marathon, there were so many people lined up that one year it took a half an hour for the last person to cross the starting line. They have timers in their shoes so they can handle all that. There are 7 magnificent ways to promote a book. We wanted to spend some time on that. Okay. Still having problems with sound? We'll keep forging ahead here. This is the Magnificent Seven, a movie. It's been made. It's been remade, but this was the classic from the 60s. 7 cowboys, gunslingers ride into a town to save the villagers by teaching them how to defend themselves against the bad guys. I think there are magnificent 7 ways to promote a consulting business, a coaching business, using a book and a speech. And I do them in rank order. I've done a 15-year study of this, and we've had over $3 million spent studying this. I've done it with Fortune 500 companies and New York Stock Exchange companies. I've done it with independent consultants, and we've had the same results. The 7th best thing you can do is a paid workshop. A workshop where people will pay money to have you give them information. So why would they give you money? 2 reasons. 1, you have the right topic. And 2, you have proprietary research. I had a client named Bob. This was in the early 2000s. He had a large outsourced technology R&D firm, and he had great clients like IBM and Hewlett Packard and Kodak. And he invited me in, and I said, why am I here? He said, Xerox. We can't crack the Xerox account. So I helped him do a proprietary study of 40 technology companies and the 10 biggest mistakes they made when they outsourced R&D technology. And he said, great, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to do a workshop on it. He said, where? I said, the Holiday Inn in Rochester, New York, across the street from Xerox headquarters. And we charged $49, and we advertised that it was based on a proprietary research study of 40 technology companies, including IBM, Hewlett Packard, and Kodak. For years, Bob had tried to get an appointment with the chief technology officer at Xerox. Couldn't do it. That chief technology officer attended the workshop and came up to Bob afterwards and said, Bob, I have a bone to pick with you. And Bob said, what is it? He said, well, you're working with IBM, you're working with Hewlett Packard, you're working with Kodak. Why aren't you working with me? So Bob had a crossroads. He could have said, well, I've been trying to get an appointment and you didn't give me one. Or he could have said, my bad. When would you like to meet? And that's how Bob got the Xerox account. So that's the power of workshops. And if you tie it with proprietary research. So that doesn't have to be expensive. We've shown people how to do it. A lot of people, you should put that in your book. You want to bake marketing into your book, things like these workshop topics. Next thing is the internet. You need to have your internet game plan together. Social media doesn't replace marketing, it just augments it. 2 things, LinkedIn, and I'm going to have Devon talk about that in a few minutes, and YouTube. Getting YouTube videos up there. more and more important for people to go to YouTube. They're searching YouTube as much as they're searching Google to find answers. So give them something there. We all know about networking at target rich environments. You need to do that back when they'll let us network. So that's the future. Or there's, how are you doing virtual networking? We're in some groups where we're doing virtual networking now. Pro bono is about doing volunteer work. For years, I've volunteered to help the Institute of Management Consultants with their annual conference. And we're planning another one come October. We're considering now, should that be a virtual conference, or should we go ahead and plan that things will be better and people will come to Boston come October? We're deciding that right now. I like the idea of a virtual conference because we could get people from all over. They wouldn't have to pay the money it costs to fly to Boston. Now you'd have to make your own good clam chowder at your house and eat it, but the conference fee would be a lot lower too, and we could probably get some great names to come speak because they could just do it from their office. Okay, the 3 secret weapons are get published. Get published. And getting published is a spectrum. It starts with LinkedIn. You should be using LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile, to post articles because people are coming to LinkedIn and your profile to check you out. So they should see some current articles. If you're an expert, where are your articles? Where are you giving advice? Start with LinkedIn. Of course, we say it goes all the way to the other end with a New York Times bestseller or an Amazon.com bestseller. Those are great things. I also believe in being a columnist. I'm a columnist for Forbes.com. They pay me to write 7 columns a month on attracting high-paying clients. So that's about marketing and publishing and promoting and speaking, and all of these subjects are related to that. So here's an offer. If you think you might have an idea for a column, just send an email to henry@booksintl.com. We'll repeat that again. And just put Forbes in the subject line. That's all you have to do. I'll send you instructions on how you can pitch an idea to me for a Forbes column. And would love to hear your ideas. Number 2, speaking. I'm going to talk more about speaking in a moment, but speaking, getting invited on stages, having other people. Right now, my metric was 2 speeches a month. This month, because of what's going on, I have 7 speeches scheduled, all online. Some are podcasts, some are audio only, some are video, some of the podcasts that have been encouraging people to do and they invite us on. Also our virtual seminars, Zoominars. Now, regularly I'm a speaker for Vistage International, if you don't know it, but it's the world's largest CEO peer-to-peer group. That's something I've written articles on in Forbes on how to be one of their paid speakers. Right now we're on a little hiatus, or we're doing Zoom talks for Vistage, but it's been great for me because as I travel around, I also put on events in other cities. So you should also consider now, TEDx talks will be coming back. Is now the time to put your application together for a TEDx talk? Okay, the number 1 thing we have found in all our studies, the best thing to do are small scale seminars where you either in person when we can do that, or now online where we can get small groups of people together, share information, be helpful. Can't be a sales pitch, has to be no selling zone. We always say no cost, no selling, no kidding. I know a lot of people don't believe us. Or when I go to places like New York, I get phone calls. So what's the catch? What is the catch here? The catch is the more generous I've been, the luckier I get, because I meet people, there are referrals. Some people, you help, and it might be a couple of years down the line, but they need some help. So really encourage you to do small scale seminars. But how do you fill those seminars? Well, I'm going to turn it over. To Devon. Devon, you get the helm here.
So I understand a lot of people are having trouble hearing us. I think maybe we should stop trying to share the presentation. I think it's sending a lot of data.
So you want to
Is
just
that
quit
okay?
sharing and just talk?
Is that okay?
I can talk.
We can send you the slides if you'd like. I think this might work a little bit better.
You know, one thing you can do is to ask everyone to turn off their video, and sometimes that reduces the load on your streaming.
Okay. If anybody still has video on, that would be great.
And I'm going to slide here for you to slide in.
Hi. So thank you for bearing with us. Apologize for the technical difficulties. But the message that we wanted to share about small cell seminars is that it really is a game changer. And we've seen it be instrumental in growing our business and our clients' businesses. In fact, we can trace over 80% of our clients back to this marketing strategy. Either they attended one of our events or they were referred by somebody who came to our event. And that's how powerful it can be. And that's what I wanted to share, is just a quick story on how powerful this has been for us. About 6 years ago, when we started Indie Books International, Henry knew that as a new player in the area, we needed to form some strategic partnerships. And he did some research and found that the #1 public relations company for authors is a firm out of Tampa, Florida called News and Experts. And he got a call with their CEO, Marcia, and had, a good initial call about, maybe we can be a referral source for you and you can be a referral source for us, and, what can we do together? And it ended like a lot of those calls do, and you've probably had similar calls where it kind of ended on, well, this all sounds great. And she said, next time you're in Florida, why don't you come by the office and we can talk more? So Henry hangs up the phone, comes out to me in my office and says, when's the next open date on our calendar? And I said, well, 3 weeks from now, the beginning of September. And he said, great, we're going to Florida. I was like, okay. And he calls Marcia back up. He says, oh, it just so happens I'm going to be in Orlando the first weekend of September. I'd love to meet you. She said, oh, great. Well, what's bringing you to Florida? He said, well, I'm putting on my Marketing with a Book and Speech Summit. She said, well, that sounds very interesting. I'd like to come to that as well. He said, okay. So here we are. We have 3 weeks to fill a room so we don't look like posers in front of the CEO we're trying to impress. Well, here's the catch. We know no one in that area of the country. Our constant contact database has 0 people in the state of Florida. So what are we going to do? And that's where LinkedIn came in. And what I was able to do is develop a strategy using the LinkedIn system to find our target audience and invite them to this event. Now I'll just pause briefly to share a personal note about me. I love that I can work basically anywhere with a Wi-Fi connection in the world, but if I could choose one place to have my office, it would be on Main Street of Disneyland. I am a Disney nut. Henry knows this about me, and he believes in setting goals with incentives. So he said, if you can get 12 people to sign up for this event in 3 weeks' time, I'll buy you a ticket to Disney World while we're down there. And to me, that was like, challenge accepted. And I developed a simple 2-step process through LinkedIn. So one was, identifying our target audience and using the filters. So what I love about LinkedIn is all of that information that we all put into our profiles is searchable. So I know that, consultants, anyone within a 2-hour drive of Orlando, Florida. I can also search by, organizations. So we know Vistage or Institute of Management Consultants. Those are target-rich organizations for us. So I was able to filter on that. And then I just sent them, one sentence in that, it defaults to I would like to connect with you. We just add one sentence to that connection invite. And it's, would you be open to an invitation to an event I'm hosting for consultants in Orlando? And that's it. It's that soft knock at the door that Henry mentioned. If they accept, we followed up with a short, like 1 paragraph or 2 small paragraph invitation to our no cost workshop. Has a link to our website if they want more information. And that's it. It's purposely non-salesy, non-pushy. We don't send a bunch of messages. It's just one, and if they're interested, they'll find more, they can ask questions. And again, it goes back to the generosity model. So we're offering valuable information and our time to them. And it's a genuine offer that we will not sell them when they come to this event. So I was able to do that. Like I said, I found as many consultants within a 2-hour drive of Orlando as I could. And in 3 weeks' time, I was actually able to get 15 people to sign up. We had a great event. Marcia came, we met with them. It's been an amazing partnership to this very day. She's gotten our authors on, radio, television, national television. She helped one of our authors get on a very large program, which I won't give away, because Henry will tell you about that later. And vice versa. She has referred clients to us. One of our largest contracts to date was a referral from Marcia. And that's all wonderful, but it's not even the best part of the story. We wrote business that covered the expenses of that entire trip before we even left California as a direct result of those LinkedIn messages. So we had a couple people that received the message. One said, I can't make it that date, but I've been looking for a ghostwriter. I would love to have a call. And he hired Henry. And the other one, and this is an interesting kind of side effect that you'll see, is when they get your message, they're going to go look at your profile and all the wonderful things you've put in there. And this person saw that Henry's a Vistage speaker and said, I've been trying to get into the Vistage speaking world. Could you coach me on that? And he bought 2 coaching sessions, which again, isn't even our main, business, but it's a nice add-on. And that was all before we even had the event. Every event we do leads to clients, and not always directly, sometimes indirectly through referrals, but we can, like I said earlier, we can trace back a lot of our clients to this strategy, and we've seen how powerful it can be, and we've taught others how to do it, including our own authors, and it really does change their model and really helps them attract clients. And I think with that,
Okay.
I'll send it back to Henry.
Well, thank you, Devon. So, if you thought that Devon and I are related, you would be right. Devon is my daughter. When we started Indie Books 5 years ago, Devon was up in Seattle working in the corporate world. And I made the entrepreneur speech to say, come back to San Diego. We've got this great business. You can get stock options, all sorts of things. You can get your old room back. So Devon is a partner in Indie Books and handles our production and our marketing. So thank you, Devon, for that. 2 dirty little secrets I wanted to talk about in publishing. These dirty little secrets don't get out there much, but I wanted to share them with you. The number 1 dirty secret is that an author does most of the marketing. An author does most of the marketing. So when you're with a traditional publisher, you think they might be doing things for you. They're not. It's not been my experience or my author's experience. You've got to hustle. And the only thing that they can get you possibly is access to bookstores, but the number of bookstores is dwindling and dwindling, and people don't buy books by going in and browsing in bookstores, not for business books. You hear about a business book, you know about it. It's because you as the author put a spotlight on your book. You put a spotlight on your book by speaking, by getting publicity, by doing all those things that get the message out there. When Devon started at Indie Books, we had 0 LinkedIn connections. We now have over 10,000. So we've done over, we said 90 of these events. So that meant we probably invited 100 people to each event. Some of our metrics on Devon's is that if we invite 200 people to link in with us, 100 will link in, 15 will attend the event. Well, they'll say they'll attend the event, but not everybody can make it. You know, maybe 10 show up. And of that 10, 3 become clients. I've talked in my research to other organizations, including financial services organizations, and a very similar pattern emerges. So that's the metric pattern. A very popular author in marketing, and he's quoted me several times, but just personally said, I can't believe what you do. You're like, you're hand-to-hand combat. You know, where's this magical thing that you can come up with to, you know, blanket the world with it? Well, that's the power of LinkedIn, is you're not doing that. As Devon talks about a lot, you've seen a lot more spammy things come out on LinkedIn. Just be the opposite of spam. If you would like a white paper on how to do all those things Devon said, send Devon at indiebooksintl.com an email and just say white paper in the subject line. And she'll send you out a white paper on how to do all those things we said. That's our gift to you. If you want information on how to write a book with marketing baked into it, send me an email, Henry, and just the subject line, just book. If you want to write a longer email to me, that's fine, but just book in the subject line will be fine. And I'll send you a free copy of my book, Marketing with a Book. Chapter 2 has the blueprint process for creating a book. I think building a book is like building a house. There are certain steps for foundation and walls and roof, and then you get to decorate the house any way you want to decorate it. A business book should have a solid foundation, and what do they say when you're looking at a home? Bones, good bones. So we're happy to share that with you. The other thing that I teach that other people don't teach is a book needs an overarching story. And human brains are hardwired for one of 8 stories. A monster problem story, a underdog story, a comedy solution, a tragedy solution, a mystery, a quest, escape, or rebirth. So you can go to my website, persuadewithastory.com. All that information is there. There are videos on it, on how to work it into your books and speeches. If you want a free copy of my book, Persuade with a Story, just send an email to me and just write Persuade Book in the subject line, and I'll know what you mean, and I'll send you a free copy. We're modeling it. We want you to give generously. It leads to all sorts of great things. I wanted to conclude with a story, but are there any questions, Devon, that have come up that we should address? Somebody wants me to repeat the email addresses.
I typed them in there.
Typed them into the comments, good.
So there were questions about if they're free workshops, and then how you would adapt it for virtual.
Yeah.
Does it have to be free?
That's a great question. And so typically in my order, a workshop, which is the more valuable thing that starts, you know, ranks 7th, that is for fee. So how do you adapt? Well, 3 times a year, it sounds like I have to leave the no selling zone. Okay, 3 times a year, we put on a retreat for a dozen authors. And it's just 3 days with Henry and Devon. And we work on a pragmatic plan on how to shine a spotlight on their book. We even do video. So we have professional video come in and have them speak and tell stories. Okay, Our next one's coming up June 26 to 28. We made a decision this week. We're going to still hold that. We're going to do it on Zoom. It's going to be virtual. And the same pricing applies. And we have kind of a crazy pricing in that there is no set price. It's a donation basis. And you pay what you can afford and what you think it was worth to you right now. So we're happy to have you as one of the authors if you agree to that. We ask for a $200 deposit on your donation. So it's not $1, but it's also not, thousands of dollars. We're not that kind of thing. Another author I know just did his workshop this month, and he did it virtual, and he did the same pricing. The small scale seminars or the Zoom seminars, I really believe that those should be no cost, no selling, no kidding. And you need to offer something, and we'll offer it to you here. You need to offer something to people that they can have a no cost, no selling, no kidding strategy call. So they get a call afterwards to talk about their goals and assets and roadblocks and how others have gotten from where they are to where they want to go. So I really think you should offer that to people after the free event. Yeah, Deb?
Yeah, I think it's not an either situation, it's an and situation. So before somebody would want to spend a 3-day retreat with us, they need to experience us in some way, get a little taste of what we do, what our philosophy is, and then they can make the decision. So having a free introductory session helps you lead into the additional things. So there's situations for both paid and free. So it's more of a and situation than a one or the other. That's kind of how we see it. That because a lot of people, if you go straight to paid, and they're going to be wary. So this gives you a way to let them experience you in kind of a safe environment for them. They don't feel pressured. And then if they like your message and your style, then they'll be excited to take the next step.
So there are 16 different ways we have used to get paid as a speaker that promotes our business. So at the retreat, we share that. Now, sometimes I'll talk a little bit about that. The nice thing about a retreat is we can roll up our sleeves and also work on everybody individually. It's not one to many. That's why we limit it to a dozen. So look at what your model could be. So that's something. Was there another question?
Yeah, so earlier you cut out when you did the percentages on using indie books. I think that was at the beginning of traditional versus
Sure.
an independent publisher.
So a traditional publisher, what you do is you prepare a business plan called a book proposal. It's 80 pages. You're convincing them how to publish your book and that you will sell 10,000 copies of the book per year. And for that, they're going to give you 15% of the profits, and they're going to keep 85. With an indie publisher, traditionally, for preparing the book, publishing it, marketing help, other marketing expenses, we've seen budgets of 10 to 20,000 that people spend over 2 years. They sell 1,000 books at 20 a piece, and they make all that back, and they're in the black. Then they make their real money on what happens as a result of the book, speaking in the $5,000 to $10,000 range, and then also what they charge for their consulting. So the combination of those two is what got Penny Reed to the 200,000. She gave me permission to tell that story with two caveats. Number one, don't make my ex-husband the bad guy of the story. He's not a bad guy. We just didn't want to be married anymore. And two, please tell them it's up to $280,000 a year now. So that's what this is possible. I'd like to tell a story about Bill Wooditch. I wish you could have been there the day I got the call from Bill Wooditch. I didn't know who Bill Wooditch was. And he sensed that. And he said, Henry, you don't know who I am, but I know the 4 magic words in the English language. And I said, Bill, what are those 4 magic words? And he said, I know a guy. I've been asking around for something I want, and people kept saying, I know a guy, Henry DeVries, talk to him. And I said, Bill, that's a lot of pressure. What is it, this thing that you want? And he says, I want to be a professional speaker and a best-selling author. And I said, oh, wow, Bill, the thing you want is like climbing a mountain. That's a mountain. Bill convinced me to drive up to Orange County and spend an afternoon with him. He convinced me by paying me $1,000. That I'm Dutch, that was convincing. I went up, and Bill is the president of the Woodage Company. He was 58 years old and at a crossroads. If you see construction projects and all those big cranes, well, somebody has to insure those things. That's the Woodage Company. And he had grown it. He had over 100 people working for him. And they said he was the most motivational boss they had ever met. In fact, they came not knowing much. He taught them how to be problem solvers, and they were making $100,000 a year or more. And here's the kicker on Bill. They said, if we didn't have the right clothes to wear when we started, Bill went out and bought us the right clothes. Bill said, it's been great motivating these people, but I didn't really get what I wanted in life. And I said, well, Bill, what did you not get? He said, well, I looked for her everywhere. I looked for her for decades. I never found her. He never found the right woman. And so he said, so I decided to pour all my energy into the business and make the business my family. But I'm at a crossroads. I did not get what I really wanted. I said, what's that, Bill? He said, I want to speak to 10,000 people at a time and motivate them. I said, oh my gosh, Bill, you want to climb a mountain. No, you want to climb Mount Everest. But there was just something in his conviction. And I said, okay, if you want to climb Mount Everest, I'll be your Sherpa. Let's go. And let me tell you, it was not easy. I got Bill booked as a speaker at Qualcomm, a Fortune 500 company in San Diego, and there were 100 C-level executives in the audience. And afterwards, one came up to me and said, oh, that Bill Woodage, he's dynamic, he's passionate. I have no idea what he's talking about. So we had to focus his message. We focused the message on his motto, always forward. It's his way of getting people past fear. And it's fear that never sleeps. We got him on radio interviews, print interviews. We worked with Marcia and her team. And then our big break came. We got him on the Steve Harvey Show. So the National Steve Harvey Show, and not for 5 minutes or not as part of a panel. 45 minutes of the show dedicated to Bill helping Steve's audience move always forward, past their fear. Now, 10,000 people did not hear him speak that day. 2 million people heard him speak that day. That was the audience. Steve Harvey liked him so much, he made him a regular guest. And he's done 3 appearances there. He's graduated to a serious radio show of his own. We helped him, and he graduated to get a book published by McGraw-Hill. He's speaking for $15,000 a speech to large audiences of 500, 1,000. When it was all done, I said, and it took 2 years to go from there. And I said, Bill, I want to take you out to dinner. And no, I didn't take him to McDonald's or Denny's and say it was his birthday. I took him to a nice steakhouse where he had taken me once. And I picked up the check. Bill wants you to know that the first time I took him to dinner, he picked up the check. But this time I picked up the check. And I said, Bill, I just wanted you to know that you proved it to me. You were willing to climb the mountain. And he got all choked up. And he said, those were the words I wanted to hear most of all. So you can do it too. You can climb the mountain. If you want to have a no-cost strategy call, 30 to 45 minutes, Devon, email Devon, D-E-V-I-N, a lot of ways to spell Devon, D-E-V-I-N, at Indie, I-N-D-I-E, books, INTL.com. And Devon will help you get clear on your goals for your book, the assets that you have. We find a lot of people have hidden assets they don't know about. Your roadblocks. A roadblock doesn't stop you. It just, you have to find a way around it. So what are the roadblocks? And then she can help you get clear on how others have gotten from where you are right now to where you want to go. Now that's also a model we want you to follow. It's a no selling zone. We're not going to poison it with selling stuff. Oh, by the way, you're not on our list. We don't have this list that people say we're supposed to have. I have a tip that I send out every week. You can get on that for free, but we don't bombard people with offers off the list. We tell them about things that we're doing from time to time. So we're not playing hard to get. We're just think you're smart enough that if you want to get in touch with us, you'll find us. If it's in your best interest, you'll find us and we'll have a conversation. If not, then we're not going to browbeat you into something. That's not the way. Our brand is generosity. We hope we can prove it to you. So with that, I see that our time is up. I just want to leave you with one message of hope and encouragement. And it's, there has never been a better time to write the right book. So let's not waste this time we have. I know we've moved indie books into the house here. And I like to say that, there's been no fights yet. It's tough being together under one roof. We can't wait to get back to our office. I can't wait to get back on the road. But just remember, there's never been a better time to write the right book. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Sorry about sound quality. Zoom is a learning experience, and we'll just keep getting better.
We don't have our fancy internet like we do at the office.
Yeah, where's my T1 line?
Yeah.
Please.
But we'll share if the recording came through okay. We'll share that, and we'll also share slides or anything else you'd like to see. We're happy to share.
We're doing this again on April 29th of this month. We're doing something in 2 days with Arthur Joseph, arguably the world's greatest vocal coach. And he's going to spend an hour coaching people on how to do better with voice on not only your virtual meetings, your live meetings, even your phone conversations. Voice is so much important. So if you want to join us on Thursday, we'd love to have you back. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.